Welcome to The Explainer. So, when we talk about modernity, we're usually stuck looking through this very specific Western lens, right? Well, today, we're flipping the script. We are going to unpack the concept of autogenous modern thinking found within Daishun thought, and we'll specifically be looking at its incredibly unique, non-Western view of the earthly realm based on Chapter 4 of our source text. If you've ever wondered how different cultures philosophize about progress, healing, and the cosmos, you are absolutely in the right place. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is a super quick look at our agenda for today. First, rethinking modernity, then the earthly realm, resolving ancient grievances, integrating East and West, and finally, heaven on earth. Let's get right to it. Section 1. Rethinking modernity. A new perspective. Before we really get into the weeds of this philosophy, we've got to challenge our standard assumptions about how societies actually evolve. Pause for a second and just picture the word modernity. What pops into your head? For most of us, it's got to be factories, skyscrapers, tech breakthroughs, just endless economic growth. We basically equate progress with building stuff. But what if that equation is totally incomplete? What if a society's evolution isn't just about building things, but actually about healing them?
This is where Daishun thought introduces this fascinating concept the text calls autogenous modernity. So unlike the typical Western model, which the text argues basically just discards the past to chase future material growth, this is an indigenous alternative. It argues, pretty radically, that you literally cannot achieve true progress without first going back and resolving historical traumas. You have to achieve spiritual harmony first. In this view, if you just go ahead and build a massive machine civilization without dealing with the deep resentments of the past, you're basically steering humanity straight toward annihilation. True modernization, according to this text, absolutely requires making peace with history first.
Section 2. The earthly realm. This stage for healing.
So now that we know the ultimate goal of spiritual and historical harmony, let's look at the actual mechanics of the universe where all this goes down. This is the Chenji Sangya Shin worldview. The source breaks down this super clean cosmic triad called the Samgya, or the three-world system. You've got heaven, that's the realm of divinity, Buddhas and bodhisattvas. Then there's the earthly realm, the space of civilization and physical form. And finally, the human world, which is the realm of organic existence. Now, according to Daishun thought, this whole cosmic operation is run by a supreme Holy Spirit using the principles of sincerity, reverence, and faith of heaven and earth. So the earthly realm isn't just a bunch of inert dirt and rock, right? It plays a very active, crucial role in this entire cosmic system.
And that brings us to a really major theological claim in the text. The source quotes, "I came down from the celestial tower of the great law kingdom in the west. While I was traveling to the east, I stayed on this earth." That is such a dramatic way to illustrate the concept of divine descent. The text posits that a supreme divine entity literally came down in human form to the earthly realm to save the world from total extinction. So the earthly realm basically becomes the critical center stage where this massive cosmic intervention unfolds.
Okay, Section 3, Resolving Ancient Grievances, Healing Historical Trauma. This right here brings us to the actual engine of this entire philosophy. Like, how exactly does this divine intervention heal the world? The secret sauce is found in two core concepts, Haiwan and Wanshibanbon. Wanshibanbon is this principle of returning to the original pure source. And Haiwan? That's the resolution of deep accumulated historical resentments. It helps to think of the earth not as a dead rock, but as this living entity with a really long memory. Over millennia, the oppression of the weak has built up this toxic layer of resentment. Daishun thought argues that before you can even think about building a utopia, the earth has got to be cleared of its past traumas. The source explicitly states that in this age of Haiwan, obscure people are going to gain momentum, and abandoned lands are going to get their energy fully restored.
Geographically speaking, this whole philosophy zeroes in on the Korean peninsula, which was historically known as Joseon. According to the source material, Joseon was chosen as the anchor point for this divine intervention for two very specific reasons. First, to aid weak, historically marginalized peoples. That basically makes it the perfect focal point for resolving all those historical grievances we just talked about. And second, the text claims Joseon was chosen because it was the country that treated the divine mandate the best. It draws a pretty sharp contrast here with Western civilizations, which the text views as having neglected the divine in favor of mechanical, material achievements.
This brilliantly illustrates the real-world application of this philosophy. Restoring abandoned lands and empowering forgotten, obscure people, that isn't just some political goal here. It's the absolute core element of what the text calls heaven and earth works.
The earthly realm is basically viewed as a giant canvas where the cosmos actually steps in to right the historical wrongs of human civilization.
Moving right along to Section 4, Integrating East and West, a Cultural Synthesis.
Let's take a look at how this philosophy doesn't just isolate itself. It actually acts as this massive, incredible cultural synthesis. Daosun thought harmonizes three major Eastern philosophies directly into the very geography of the earthly realm. It literally maps Confucianism, Buddhism, and Taoism onto specific geographic nodes, like the sacred Samsun Mountains in Korea. It's wild. Confucianism provides the rituals and order. Buddhism offers the space for spiritual practice and the purification of the mind and body. And Taoism, or Zen, gives you the topographical foundation for unity with nature. It is a highly structured system that pulls the absolute best strengths of each tradition into one cohesive working worldview. The source draws a really sharp contrast here. It views the traditional Western concept of modernity as a system that essentially discards the past to aggressively pursue material development. And it says this ultimately operates on a separated, exploitative relationship between humans and nature. But in contrast, Daesun's autogenous modernity demands reconciliation with the past through Haiwan. It's looking for a harmonious development of both matter and spirit, insisting on a true win-win relationship between heaven, earth, and humanity. The text is basically warning us that Western modernity is a machine that's just amplifying the resentments of the past, whereas this alternative model offers a genuine path to sustainable harmony.
All right, final section. Section 5, Heaven on Earth, the ultimate goal. This brings us to the ultimate resolution of this incredibly intricate worldview. I mean, where is all of this actually going? Well, the destination is what the text calls the earthly paradise, or the later world of heavenly goodness. And it lays out a very clear roadmap for us. Step 1, you absolutely must resolve historical resentments through Haiwan. There's no skipping that step, it's non-negotiable. Step 2, establish a complementary relationship between the divine and humans. It's definitely not about human domination, it's a partnership. And step 3, integrate the best of both worlds. Western material advancement combined with Eastern spiritual civilization. It doesn't totally reject material progress, it just demands that it be balanced and guided by a deeply healed spiritual framework. We have covered a tremendous amount of ground today, exploring a totally different blueprint for how humanity might actually evolve. Daesun Thought asks us to look at the earthly realm not just as some resource waiting to be mined, but as a space in desperate need of historical and spiritual healing. And it leaves us with this really powerful reflection to chew on. As we race toward the future, constantly building our modern world, could the actual sustainable path forward require us to first turn around and make peace with our past? It's a lot to think about. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this sparked your curiosity, and I'll see you next time.